One.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Fight Temple. I'm Rob Zoatman. He's Chow Ball. With us is Jordan Morley, a judge, certified judge, and one of the founders of the late great I Judge Fights. In the break, we were talking about something interesting. Chow Ball, can you present this question to the public?
Yes. Because from my experience of amateur sports, like a Sanda or and also because in China, MMA kind of was adapting a lot of tradition from the amateur sports, and also boxing, Sanda, and also when I was working in the amateur MMA internationally, because before we followed the Russian sort of Russian system of WMMA, they always had this. Head referee, and also he's also the head of the judges. So I remember one time I was judging, I know I was refing in Korea. I kind of there's something I missed because you stand that close, there's always miss something. So that was the guy. He blew the whistle, and he informed me something. And also another incident happened. Rob was there. We're not gonna mention where or which fighter. So it
George,
actually almost caused like a chaos, almost caused like a out of control, the type of the audience rushing down, the type of thing. So there's one kid, he got a he got knee in the balls, and the head of the judge says if he somehow I couldn't remember, if he denies it, if he's saying yes or no, it's gonna affect this fight, gonna be canceled, it's gonna lose right away, that type of thing. So there's there's something like really interesting because from that angle, this kid, he got kicked, kind of up, slide over. He's down there, and when the whole arena was going crazy because of the China against international stuff, and the ref from Russia, he told me very calmly, he says, if this is his first time, I would doubt it. But he did this 2 days ago in the semifinal as well. So what do you think of that? So it will be two questions. One is what's the importance compared with professional MMA to have a head of referee and judges, and the second, how much this head referee and judges can affect in the whole game.
Okay, so I would like to jump in on this. So for one thing, you shouldn't have a head official who's overriding the inner ring or official, right? You're not supposed to have a head referee who overrides the referee in the ring. The referee in the ring or the cage is making the call. Right or wrong, that's their job, is to make that call. Okay, so the issue that we have, so with a head judge, and I'm gonna, because sometimes people confuse referees and judges. So judges sit ringside, they score the fight. Referees are the guys in the cage. Okay. One of the issues is, so let me first address head judge. A head judge just collects all the scores from the other three judges and makes sure they're actually tallied correctly and there's no errors. Not in his opinion of an error of who should win a round or not. It's just that it adds up correctly, makes sure that the result matches up to the scorecards, and hands that forward. So, Rick, we're talking about a weird situation that I had as a head judge where we end up with a split draw, and I checked the math multiple times. The math was correct. While the actual scoring was suspect, the math was correct, and my job was to put forward what the math was and what the result was, and to say it was a split draw. And just to say, as another example, is in the Tyrone Woodley Wonderboy Thompson fight, is someone screwed up because the result that was originally announced was not the proper result as it was on scorecard, is someone didn't understand how to interpret that collective result. And that's the role of a head judge, is say, that's what this means. Okay, it's not to override anybody at any point. And same with referees. So the referee in the ring or in the cage is the man in charge. There's no secondary referee who's supposed to like double check his work. If work has to be double checked, it goes through a committee or a governing body. It's dealt with later, but not at that moment. The fight that you're talking about, and everyone on this chat was there and present for that chaos, was the fighter involved the day before took a questionable nut shot. His opponent was DQ'd, and the guy who took the questionable nut shot advanced. He then takes a questionable nut shot.
He started seeing it as a way out.
It was a way out. Now, because he was, again, losing in both situations. The problem is the referee screwed up.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, it was kind of honestly, that particular situation isn't really on the books. That's the problem.
It's not on the books. But so what happens was he gave the fighter, and there's a language barrier as well, was the issue. Because he basically said, can you keep fighting? And the fighter's like, no. Yeah. So he's like, okay, fight's over. And then as soon as he waved off the fight, the fighter's like, why? Why is the fight over? I want to keep fighting.
No. As soon as the fighter knew that he was going to lose, that's the problem.
Because the fighter thought he was going to get ahead again on a non-nut shot, theoretically. Right? Yeah. So the issue comes into the referee gave him the opportunity. Fighter thought he'd play it the same way. It didn't work out. And he's acting like he got robbed. Now the crowd thinks, and it's a hometown crowd, they think he got robbed because they really don't know any better. Right?
Yeah. Well, now the problem in that instant.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, the officials are in a really tough situation.
Yeah.
Because the ref kind of screwed up and the fighter definitely screwed up, but there's a potential language barrier issue.
I screwed up too. I ran over there as the freaking commentator. I ran over there and say, I was trying to help as a translator role.
Just stir the fucker. But the other issue is because you've got China versus the world scenario in China with national implications. There's you've got politicians, you have military generals all in the audience. So this is pressure to resolve
and better than that is that the Russians don't care. He's like, I just saw it. The problem was that he saw it wasn't that he had to recall it because it didn't go anywhere near his balls this time. The one before hit him in the leg and slid up kind of. It was questionable. But this one wasn't anywhere near there. And the thing was that we had the replay right there. So the head guy actually was sitting behind our table and looked at the screen repeatedly. And he's like, yeah, not again. This guy, he loses.
Yeah, that's a good point because in the round before this, that was his way out. That's the way he got this this victory, and they won't let it happen. I'm sure that the judge, the head of judge, and he has some regret, and maybe something like a doubtful in the round before. What do you think?
So for generally in the West, a head judge has no influence on the outcome of a fight. All they're doing is tabulating and making sure the result is reported and recorded accurately. That's all the role.
So he wasn't being a judge. He's a how do you say? He's like a head referee. So he's kind of like, well, he's God, what's the word? It's not a judge. It's not a referee. It's like a grand overseer, like a magistrate.
Arbitrator.
You know, yeah, arbitrator, whatever you want to call it. So as soon as he saw the thing, he's like, well, it didn't hit him. Would you like to see it? You know, and the question is, are we checking instant replay or not? Well, there's a big screen. It goes on the big screen. The crowd doesn't have a leg to stand on, except that kid's Chinese and the judge isn't. Now the overall show was decided. Literally, this match was one of that could have been the tipping point of the entire who gets gold, which team gets gold, which team gets silver.
I got shouted by the freaking ring announcer. I was like, "Why are Chinese on the game?" And I was like, "Shut up! You're just a ring announcer."
Listen, Rob and I were commentating, and I had guys come out of the audience going, blah, 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 this happened, he got shot in the nuts. I'm like, I actually
Shut
saw
up,
he
MC. Do your MC job.
Yeah, man. I was like, this is not my problem. I honestly don't care. I had a lot of admiration, even though it wasn't necessarily his job. The guy who made the call, I had admiration for him because there was serious pressure in that building, and he was like, "It is what it is." He didn't get hit in the balls. This kid's a weasel. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
and I was
like, not again.
I've seen lesser officials feel pressure and restart a fight really quickly that they had already called off, and so I do have to say I respect that guy for going, no, that was it. That's how it played out, and stuck with it. So, yeah, and that's part of
the other thing is here's one dynamic that the referee in the ring could not. You see, the head ref or the head judge, this arbitrator, took away the fault from the guy in the ring, and it was important because the guy in the ring was a Kazakh reffing a Chinese fighter and a Tajik fighter, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or Uzbek fighter.
So can we take a second right now to give a lot of shout-outs and credit to Kazakh fighters?
Dude.
There's so many talents.
People. There's some serious talent. Dude. MMA fans, listen. I know the Dagestanis have been making some noise, and we love our Koreans.
But Kazakhs, they're the real deal. They eat horse
Kazakhs
meat.
are coming too, man. So, Kazakh, Uzbek, like there's a whole band of stands that we don't hear about quite yet, and those guys are impressive too. They got.
And also Afghanistan. There's a Chinese super heavyweight. We're not going to mention who, but it's a Chinese super heavyweight. Looks very kind of adorable and strong at the same time. He's got influence in Korea. So no more introduction on that. So he was actually he fought this guy from Afghanistan in amateur rules. So, he did what he needed to do, and he was sweating for 2 minutes, and then the third minute, he's on the ground again. He got rocked, and the ground and pound, rear mount, riding ground and pound by this guy you never heard of. This guy is strong, but you don't see any, clear lines of muscles. He's just like a big guy, and it's not like a balanced kind of, strong physically. He's just big, but that guys never get tired, man. It's so weird. Yeah. I saw some guys like this guy from Afghanistan, and also I saw another brawler from. There's a brawling fight. One guy from Kyrgyzstan, another guy is from I don't know, but two guys they were fighting like a freaking lightweights for whole 3 rounds.
Yeah,
they never get tired.
So when we talk about some of there's some really, really, really great talent coming out of areas, and I'm just really looking forward to Daniel Cormier trying to pronounce names of fighters coming out of Kazakhstan, because Rob and I struggled and we spent the night practicing, and because some of them are long, when you got 27 characters in your name.
Yeah. Well, every time when I was in the beginning to commentate the UFC. Back in 8 years ago for Sohu, and there's some names I couldn't get it right, but I was fortunate to have friends. They're from the Europe, and also a lot of countries. So I'll just ask them, "What's his name?" Oh, his name is.
So I want to give a shout out to Jeff Huh.
Yeah.
The reason Jeff Huh, once in a while I get a text and I was like, "What does this mean?" And my favorite was, who's the Mexicutioner?
Mexicutioner. I can't remember his name. I know who you mean.
There's the Mexicutioner, and it was like a Tasmanian devil, but someone, like another UFC fighter, twisted the Tasmanian devil into some other nickname. Yeah. So he's like, I don't understand these nicknames. And then he'll text me, and I have to explain it, and it's always really funny. He's really cool about it. But Jeff, who does some Chinese commentating MMA, because you know what? Sometimes the English nicknames make no sense. They really don't. Like Mexicution. Google Translate can't deal with
and vice versa, we get some nicknames, man, like from parts of Asia, especially China, and where the English translation makes no sense because there's no significance. There's no significance at all. You're like what?
What's the weirdest nickname you've had to translate into English from Chinese?
The cat smacker.
What's that?
Well, I will say one of the
smasher.
best ones. One of the best ones. I can't say any worse ones because there's a lot of them. As Jordan said, this is really hard to get the point. And one of the best ones was Wang Sai, right? The Wang Sai,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know if you guys know
The
that.
Fire Kailin or the boss? The Fire Kailin, right?
Yeah, the fire Kailin, but it's like how are we gonna translate the boss? Okay, that's him. So kind of translate the same feeling, but not exactly
I
what's called.
I think I understood what the Fire Kailin was. At least I thought I did, but it didn't. It doesn't make any sense, man. I was like, it doesn't make sense to the audience in English
Hey,
whatsoever.
hey, you know what Kailin is, right?
It's like I don't know, like a spirit or
It's a
phoenix.
spirit. Okay, the Kailin looks like a deer, but with a dragon hat, a
Yeah,
dragon head, and also dragon tail. And also it's got like a dragon, like a kind of like a lizard back. So that's what it looks like.
yeah.
And here is the funny thing.
And you have a wood one, a water one,
No, 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 no. Just
fire
Kylie,
one, a mountain
the
one.
dragons, they're water ones. And, okay, the
Oh,
Kyling is like a big deer, and
okay.
with the dragon head and dragon
Yeah.
head and dragon tail. Okay, and there's one funny thing. I feel very fortunate I didn't post this. So my friend, he owns this restaurant in Inner Mongolia, right?
Yeah.
So and Wang Sai went to visit him, and Wang Sai said, thank you, my friend, to treating me so well, because in Inner Mongolia they kind of have a lot of barbecue. They will roast the whole lamb,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he posted, at a dinner table there's a whole lamb roasted still on the how to say the metal bars, the shelf, and someone left a comment that says, "Hey, one side, what's this?" Maybe the guy doesn't know about like a Mongolian roasting or something. He said, "What's this?" I almost replied, "That's a fire tiring." That was suck. That's what fire Kylie looks like.
After it's been fired.
Yeah. So
Joey Beltran was the Executioner. And
Yeah.
had to explain to Jeff it's Mexican executioner pushed together as Executioner. And
Play on
then
word.
was Davi Ramos was the Tasmanian Devil. Now I remember this now because he said like what's a Tasmanian Devil? I literally Googled the cartoon character.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Google
cartoon
images.
character,
It's like,
also the
that
actual,
makes sense. What's that?
but also the actual animal. So you've got like this.
I sent him like a few images. So one was the cartoon and one was the actual animal. But like, it was the cartoon that he actually recognized.
Yeah.
That's Chinese, like Tom and Jerry or whatever. When he
Chinese Tom and Jerry. Did the Jordan send anything?
Sorry,
What?
Did Jordan send anything? The pictures?
Jordan. What are you talking about?
Anyways, so another one from one is called he's Asian. I think he's Vietnamese, but he grew up in Australia. His nickname is the situation. The situation.
yeah, he fights in one. That's
Yeah.
right. The situation.
Situation. Yeah.
Which, by the way, is one of my
Martin
favorite
New-
names.
Martin Newman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, situation. Oh,
Yeah.
did you see the Tony Ferguson and then Kevin Lee? They're like there's a short video. I don't know if it's a stage or not, but it just Kevin Lee and Ferguson. They're like shabby, you shabby, me shabby, you shabby. Do you see that one?
I never saw that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
I never saw that. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the behind the scenes right now. I can't wait for the first UFC fight back from this pandemic stuff.
Do you know where it's going to be, Rob?
Where?
Do you know where it's going to be?
No, I don't yet.
Somewhere in Florida, they said.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, well, that figures.
Yeah.
That figures. Look, Dana is all about just getting it on wherever they'll allow him to. And, fighters, you can't tell fighters, no, don't do this. They're like, yeah, we'll figure it out later. Nobody could tell me not to take a fight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a good idea. You're not ready yet. Never mind that. I'm taking it. What are you going to do when there's a little sickness going on? Oh yeah, I'm afraid I'm not going to take it. Fighter isn't going to do that. So they know that these guys go. And it's an unfortunate thing is that there's no guaranteed money, and it's only the very wealthy fighters that can afford to be training nonstop, because you don't want to take this time off. And you can be afford to be training nonstop, eating, living, all expenses, and then still not have any income. You can't take half a year's income out of the UFC and not expect the fighters to be eager to fight at their own risk. Even they don't care.
So, just as a point where it's getting to sports is, so right now I'm in Edmonton, and the NHL has just said they're going to pick a few neutral cities that multiple teams will play in with empty arenas, and they're saying Edmonton's going to be one of those cities. So, you could have two non-Edmonton teams, so not the Oilers, playing in Edmonton.
But they'll meet Edmonton.
Yeah, they'll use the neutral zone. The reason being is we have a lower case rate than, say, Calgary or LA or other cities, especially Florida, right? So, that sort of scenario. So it's interesting to see how they deal with it. Dana's still pushing for this private island thing. Who knows what happens there? It's a tough thing for everyone. I get that. I feel for the fighters, but I also don't want them to be put at risk as well.
Yeah, it's now to feel like the only content you can generate is from fights. And also the fighters' income will be from fights. And I heard PFL actually is going to pay fighters a set flat salary for the off season. So which is great, because the fighter, because I talked to many fighters and they all feel, especially young fighters, and they all feel after they signed with the UFC, actually their life didn't not as comfortable as they used to be, and there's really not much, like, how to say, their quality of life didn't really get advanced much, and instead of this. There's some down facts as well, and they're actually talking about if any big league should pay fighters flat salary as the base, because even the fighter's not fighting, he's still using his social media to promote the event, and
absolutely,
and also looking after his everything, to be benefited from the performance. To the performance of the fight, and also all the drug testing thing. It's quite stressful as a fighter, especially fights for the UFC. And I don't know. I know it's been it's not a history, or is there any written rules that the league should pay the fighters, but just the fighters.
I have to say
they're not doing well.
As Edmonton is potentially a city opens up for sports earlier than others because of the great job that our mayor and city council has done on proactive to reduce cases here, and therefore NHL may start up earlier here. I'm also hoping become a venue, maybe, if the fights do come back, just because really I'd love to see you guys again in person, and we've got some fight teams, and I'd love for some of the Chinese fighters to come here, because Edmonton has a great Chinese community as well who'd be very supportive, like Vancouver would, Toronto would, Calgary, we've got some great Chinatowns here, so it'd be really fantastic because, hey, I live here, so it's a short drive. But also, it'd be great to see all of you guys together in the same city as well as we kind of move through this.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys have more to talk about, or we can just pause it here for today. And because Rob
Okay.
needs to get up really early, and
I
yeah,
do.
yeah. So Rob is going to have operation and surgery tomorrow, and gonna hope everything will go well. And yeah, I'll see you next time. And also,
Three more inches, right, Rob?
Yeah, right. That's exactly what's happening. I'm getting shorter all the time.
yeah. All right, guys. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
See ya.
Have a good night.
Cheers.